Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everyone. Good Advice Helps. That's the name of this podcast. And he is helping, does every time he gets together with us. It's a challenging world we live in. And ultimately, our children are very much affected by that. He has spent many years as a school psychologist at the Reed Union School District in California. And he's back with us. Dr. Allan Philip Gold is on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Good. Great to have you back here.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, I've never seen so many emails, detailed, focused, with people just going through some challenges. It doesn't matter what they are, we get them, and there's definitely people that are looking for some answers and dare I say advice. Can we go to one of those right now?
Absolutely.
All right. We got Mark from Buffalo who says, my son is being bullied and now is withdrawing from classes and also activities. I'm not really sure how to handle this situation.
Well, bullying is one of my, I won't say my favorite topics, but prominent topics that I've worked on. And it is absolutely wrong. It's not that bullying is a new situation.
Sure.
I mean, when I was a kid, I was bullied too.
Same.
But it's getting worse and worse now. And I really think of it, well, does this person say how old his son is?
It doesn't say in the email.
Okay. Well, if it's happening at school, and it sounds like it is, it's really a joint responsibility of the parents and the school. The parents need to let the school know who's bullying the son, and it's up to the school to begin to have meetings to find out what's going on. It doesn't have to be a lot of people, but I used to work with kids all the time. If another kid was being mean to a kid, and to try to find out what was the source of all of that. It's part of our American culture, and I hate to say it, but people, there's many reasons for bullying, but it's usually that if somebody, there's this old expression, hurt people hurt people.
Sure.
And what it means is that if somebody's being hurt by somebody else, instead of absorbing it and directing it on themselves, they'll often take it out on somebody else. So we don't know if the kid who's being bullied or the bullier is doing this because they're being bullied, like by an older sibling or something like that, or because they're feeling bad about themselves and they need to take it out on somebody else, maybe. But we don't know. But I think it's so important at the very least for the a counselor or the school psychologist at school to talk to the kid who's being bullied, see what triggers it, give them the support, and then make sure that the school administration knows, because it's not okay to have kids not feel safe to go to school.
You bring a great point, Allan, in that, yes, hurt people hurt people. We've heard that before. However, I never even considered that the person doing the bullying may be getting bullied by a sibling. We always think it's an outside force, other kids in the school, other situations, but it could really start at home. So thanks.
Or it could even be by their own parents.
Well, yeah, exactly. And they're just acting out. I do believe we have a call. We're going to go to that right now. Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. My name is Lamont, and I have a son who was a junior in high school. In his sophomore year, he was being bullied. And he found a lot of help seeing a psychologist on the outside, as well as the school psychologist. And he has hinted that this could possibly be something that he would want to do for his career. How can I be sure it's the right path, and what's the starting point for this career?
Well, that's a very good question. It's interesting about careers because it can be an event or a situation that happens to a child, a young person, or even an older person that completely redirects their ambition. If it really depends on your son. Is he a very caring person? Is he just trying to do this to eliminate bullying? But even that's not a bad thing. By the way, I'm reflecting. My voice is echoing. Thing.
Yeah, I don't know why there would be. Lamar, you can hear him clear, right?
Yes, I can hear him.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm echoing. Sorry about that. I think if he's really interested in being a psychologist or um, helping other kids, and that's part of his personality, I would say that he should pursue that. I mean, he needs other experiences to, really justify making that choice. But if that's important for him and he wants to help other kids grow and develop in safety and prevent bullying, I would say that's absolutely a legitimate career to pursue. He does need more experience, working with kids. If he does like younger people and maybe he's a good older brother, he that's all evidence. If it's just this one incident that is making him feel that way, he really needs to really think about it carefully. Is this what I really want to do with my life? He may have other goals, but and it's not unusual that one experience may shift a person's career path for something that they really want to do.
And what about a starting point for something like that? Lamar, how old's your son? What grade?
He's a junior in high school.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think, Allan? If he's thinking about it, what do you think the next step would be?
Well, I think if I don't know about his high school, but taking sometimes psychology classes are offered. That would be a very good thing to see if he's interested in the larger field. Um, Also, I wonder. Well, you said the psychologist at school or counselor was able to help him with that. So I think to do some research with him, what are the some of the psychological career options if he's really interested in that. But I think taking a course in psychology, if that is possible in the high school, some high schools offer that. Certainly can do that in college if he wants to go to college. Well, he has to. He would have to go to college. He'd have to be an academic, be interested in academics and doing well. So those are other requirements, obviously. But I think that would be a good place to start.
Lamar, any other questions?
Well, it's more of a statement. He is actually going to be taking a class his senior year in antisocial behavior. So I know he's serious about it, but I want him to find his own course in his own way and just let him grow into the man that he's going to be. So very, very helpful, Dr. Gold, and I really, really appreciate your time. And
Sure, and it's really wonderful to let kids find their own path. And I'm experiencing this right now. I have a former student, she's now 22, and she contacted me about 3 years ago when she was a sophomore in college and was majoring in business and engineering and wanted to. She told me that she liked what she was doing, but the part of her that really cared about people wasn't being developed. So she ended up switching to a psychology major, and right now I'm helping her. I just was on the phone with her this morning, actually. She loves kids. She's had some experience. She's working with after school care at a local public school, and she's really debating what to do for a career. She's thought about teaching little kids. She's thought about school psychology. She's thought about marriage and family therapy. So she's really being very reflective, self-reflective, and thoughtful about what's the right thing. And she puts pressure on herself because she feels like she has to make a decision right away. She does want to go to graduate school, and we had a really good conversation about it, which helped her through. And I think for your son, if he's really interested in this, continuing with a therapist is not a bad idea. So he can really sort out his desires and his thoughts, and what major in college and so on. So I think it's really good that he's going to take the antisocial behavior class, and he can see how that works. But, as a parent, we often want to, really direct our kids. But I liked what you said very, very much about having him choose, with wisdom and experience, the path that he's going to take. And I think that's very good. But any guidance you can provide, whether it's your own or outside, I think can be really helpful, because kids get, young people get very confused about, what do I really want to do? And particularly, he's probably 16 now, 16 or 17, but in the early 20s, it's that's a struggle for people. So the next 5 years really are important for him to make the a right decision. And he also has to feel that the decision that he makes right now, he hopefully he'll live a long time, and people do change their careers in the middle of their lives, and that's possible too. We have lots of opportunities to pursue what we want to, and if something doesn't turn out right, we don't have to stick with it for the rest of our lives. I want him to be happy and satisfied and feel like he's doing good for the world. That's the main thing.
Lamar, thank you very much for calling. Best of luck to you and your son.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I want to get in your head, Allan, figuratively, literally, back to the beginning, and you've shared with us your career path and how you got to where you are. But I'm curious, what was the moment that showed up where you had a fascination with the way our minds work? Do you remember back at that? I know that you told us that you were big into math back in the day. That was kind of your thing. Where did that fascination with the mind come in?
I've thought about that a lot, and my inclination to switch careers from being a statistics professor and then an actuary, and then all of a sudden to school psychology, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I when I think about myself in my mid-20s, I had always liked teaching and working with kids. But the whole psychology part of it, I guess it was part of what happened in the Army when I was trained as a psychology social work specialist, because I really hadn't had the experience before. But what I was saying to the gentleman we were just talking to, you never know what life event is going to change you. And I really wish I could answer that more clearly, because I'm not sure myself. Even when I was telling my father I wanted to change my career, and he was telling me, no, don't do that, stick with being an actuary. And I had the guts to say, no, this is what I want to do. A lot of it was intuitive. And I think, I in a way, I wish I had been more clear about my own experiences and my own desires, but there was something intuitive in my gut that I felt this is what I wanted to do. But I did like and at the time my ex-wife was a social worker, so I was exposed to, the psychology of human beings, and trying to figure that out. But it was really sort of an intuitive move on my part. And I know that I liked even though the training in the Army was difficult, because we were exposed to young men that they were helicopter pilots and they'd been shot down in Vietnam and were burnt, and but just that sense of trying to help people, um, really. And I'd always wanted to help people, and my father was a teacher too,
Hmm.
but the and my parents weren't particularly psychologically oriented, so it's really something I learned over time. And then once I went back to school in psychology, I loved it. That solidified my gut feeling of this
Hmm.
is what I wanted to do. I don't know if that answered your
It
question.
does. When you know, you know. So you knew, maybe not directly knew, but it was resonating within you. And I look back, I went to one semester of community college. I was already working in radio. I already got the job I wanted. But when I look back to it, and we shouldn't have regrets. So it's a learning experience and it's never too late. But I dropped out of psychology. I regret it.
Mm,
I totally
yeah.
regret it. I looked at it back then. I was like, and I wasn't the best student. So I was like, that looks like it's going to be a lot of work. I don't want to dig into that. Can I do filmmaking? Can that take the place of psychology? But I am fascinated with the way the mind works, the subconscious, and all of that. It's never too late. Yeah.
No, it's never too late. And, I still keep learning about it, even at my
Right.
age, you
Right.
know,
There's
still
always like
learning.
little pieces.
And you see, I see my own peers and adults, and I look at, political figures, and you really wonder what makes people the way they are.
Yeah.
With the whole bullying thing, why are people mean to each other? It's and it's hard to figure all of this out.
That's, such a great point you bring up there because now I approach it in a different way. Why do people do what they do? And a lot of times when somebody says to me, yeah, I'm dealing with this situation, my partner is this and whatever, I don't know, maybe I track these people asking for advice. They are. And the first thing I say is, well, what was your childhood like? What was theirs like? And usually the answer is there or
Yeah,
it leads to
yeah.
it.
No, I've learned that the way adults function is often based on how they were treated as kids,
100%.
which is why parenting is so critical to how what kids turn out to be as adults.
Great. We're going to perfect seg to a question we have at instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. This is David in Boise. He says, how do you approach conversations with parents who are in denial about their kids' needs?
Okay, again, a very good question. I don't know if he's just speaking as another parent or as a professional. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, it doesn't
you
say.
know, it's really what's really critical is how you approach these things. And how can you express your concern, your worry, in a way that doesn't threaten the parents. Um, there's always sort of the direct way. I'm really worried about your kid. He's doing this or she's doing that. But a lot of it depends on, in fact, I won't say more than a lot. Um, I won't say just a lot, but it depends on the relationship that the person who wants to share the concerns with the other parents, the relationship that they have with those parents. If you have a long time trusting relationship, it's very hard for even best friends who are concerned because their best friend is having a romance with somebody that they feel is a bad
Mm,
choice, and those are adults to adults. How do you express that? Um, and so many people, they the best friend doesn't say anything, and then 10 years later the couple gets divorced, and then everything comes out. Well, I really wanted to tell you, I don't think that was a good
hmm.
person for you. So whether it's your child or a romantic partner or something, it's really, really hard to find a way to express that. But I think if you just feel that you need to, you can say, I want to tell you something that has been really troubling me, and I love you and I care about you and I really care about your child. Um, I've been observing these things, and I know it's really hard to accept other people's observations, but I just want you to give some thought, because I am worried about whatever the child is doing. And so the person who wants to communicate this information has to think very, very carefully about how they can gently and respectfully share the information. Now, that doesn't guarantee that the parent's going to do anything.
Right.
I mean, I've had to share information about kids' behaviors when I wanted parents to consult a doctor and get medication for ADHD. Or if a kid was, behaving in a particularly difficult way. And, I had to deal with parents who didn't want to accept that. But I think for one's own mental health, I think it's important to be able to communicate that. At least you can feel, I tried. I tried to express what I thought. I don't have total control over the other parent. I did it in a gentle and respectful way. But maybe it has to get worse before the parents realize that, wow, there's something really wrong here. And that often happens, not only but even with ourselves, like with illnesses or something, there are people who just neglect the fact that something's not working right with their bodies, and it has to get worse and worse before they'll go consult a doctor. So, it's normal human behavior to be in denial of something that is troubling.
And maybe to temper it, to not go right there, but to say, based on what I'm seeing. So you're not saying that what you're saying is it, but my observations, I just want you to know what I'm feeling here. So it's not like you're
ask questions too. Are you
Sure.
seeing this sort of thing? By asking questions rather than telling people.
Exactly.
That's a good approach. What do you see your daughter's doing or your son's doing at home? Because you might be observing at you have the kid over and he or she is being mean to your kids, or they're messing things up or doing something that's not appropriate for the behavior. So I mean, it's a very, very good question, and it's tricky, but there are ways to at least try. And like I say, we don't want to go through life feeling like, why didn't I say that to that person? Right. And even, as horrible as it could be, you might see something that a child is really depressed or something, and then the kid commits suicide and you never said anything, and you feel terribly, terribly guilty for not mentioning something.
You bring up a great point to ask questions. I've always, as much as I try to take my own advice, don't give advice. It's not your job, but maybe have them look at it, with those questions and such. Good advice helps. That's what we're talking about today. Thank you for all the insight. Appreciate our listener and caller feedback. If you've ever got any questions, whether it's career connected or something going on with your child, instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Allan, as always, thank you very much for being here today and for all the insight. You can't find this anywhere online, the depth.
Yeah, my pleasure. And, I respect people's questions very, very much, because they're, life is difficult. And just the fact that somebody wants to ask for information or another person's perspective or experience, I really admire that. So thank you to the people who have.
And thank you to you for being here today. Looking forward next time we get together.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Woo! Let's get crazy! In movies, when someone at a party jumps into a pool fully dressed, everyone cheers them on and jumps in too. Just so you know, in real-life parties, nobody jumps in after you. You just look stupid.
Come on, jump in! Come on!
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.